Hi there, welcome back to Google Analytics 101, and we're on video 3 where I'm going to take you through this left-hand side of the main menu on the home page. And before I dive into that, I just wanted to zoom over here to the right. I forgot to mention this in the last video. So this is your active users right now. So I always think of this as a bit like a heartbeat. So if your website had a heartbeat, this is how many little heartbeats per minute, if you like, it has at the moment. So it's saying 55 active users are on the website right now. And that's the first part of what we're going to dive into here on the left-hand side of the menu. So we have a look at the overview. This is, I guess it's like the rolled up stats that we have on the home page, except it's talking about the website in this absolute moment in time as opposed to over a period of time. So you can see here, what's this taking us, -6 minutes, 11 minutes ago, 16 minutes ago, and so forth. So here we had no one on the site, no page views at about -23 minutes. So it just gives you, like I said, it's a little bit of a heartbeat of your website, and that's broken down to per second. It's also saying which are the most active pages. So within the last, 25 minutes or so, what those most active pages have been. And then our top referring websites or channels. At the moment, it's saying no top social traffic. But say, for example, if you had an amazing post doing well on Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn and it was driving some traffic through right now, then that link would show there for you. And not provided, that can happen a lot with the keywords. That's just the way it is, unfortunately, when it comes to the keywords. And here you've got your top locations as well. So it's it is the US. So that's live right now. Oh, I forgot, just so you do know, that's the device usage. So most people are on a desktop at the moment looking at this site, and only 8% on mobile and 2% using a tablet. And you can dive into locations into a little bit deeper. So we saw a high level view on that prior page, and this is showing you that it's the United States and Mexico that have the highest traffic volume at the moment. Traffic sources. So where is the traffic coming from? And that's saying direct. So that's when someone types in the URL. This is organic. That's an ad campaign or ad campaigns, and referral traffic. And it gives you actually the specific referral links. And then it's going to tell you what content is driving that traffic. So where are they going to? And that, because this is essentially built around the example of an e-commerce site, you can see there's quite a bit of product there. Now, that's all I need to cover in real time for this Google Analytics 101. But like I say, it's essentially your heartbeat right now, what's happening on your website. Now, if we dive into audience, there's some pretty great stuff in here, and we're just going to have a look at the overview first. Now, with any of these reports, once you jump in here, you can amend your time period up here in the corner. So whether you want to do a week or a 3-month, a quarterly period, a full year, whatever you want, 1 day, whatever you want to do, you can enter that period into here. So let's say it's starting on 20 May. We might want to finish it on the Saturday for some reason. And we can apply. And now it's recalculating those results for those specific dates. And then we can also compare. Perhaps we want to compare it to the week prior, and it's actually automatically put that in there for us. Or you might even want to compare those exact same dates, but for the prior year. So you can either just type that in, or you can do a little bit of a copy and paste and then amend the year and apply that. And it's then going to give you year on year or time period on time period, so you know. Green is always a nice thing. It means it's better, whereas red it's down on prior period. So reds aren't so nice to see. And you'll see that in everywhere in Google Analytics. It's generally will be giving you a comparison statistic or percentage, so you can at a glance know whether you're up or down. So let's just take the compare out, and let's do the month to date because it's almost a full month, and we'll just leave that on 1 to 28 May 2019. And here we can see by day the volume of traffic, I guess the peaks and troughs, if you like. So this is your users, new users, sessions. So we did touch this on the master page, if you like, but this is your total amount of visits during whatever period that you're looking at. So just a reminder, we're looking at 1 to 28 May. So during that period, we've had 66,301 sessions, of which 50,714 of those were unique individuals. So just to remind you, users are unique, whereas sessions might be, I might be one unique user, but I visited the site 3 times and had 3 sessions during this time period. And then new users is a good one to keep an eye out on as well, because if you go and change up your activity, so it might be that generally you just send emails out to your existing database and you've decided, no, look, we're going to go and do some advertising, whether that's with Facebook, Instagram, or some Google ads. You are then investing that money to attract a new audience. So you would expect that that's going to drive more traffic to your website, and therefore you should see an increase in new users. So if you are doing different activities, it's worthwhile having an understanding of what percentage your new users make up. So have a look at it before you start some activity, and then keep an eye on it so you start to understand some benchmarks around what would be, I guess, a normal month, and then if you ramp up activity, how that might change. With the number of sessions, that's just essentially dividing, users and sessions to show that, yes, you've had 66,000 sessions, but with 50,000 unique people. So on average, that's giving you 1.31 sessions per user. Page views, it's good to just keep an eye on that, but I think this is probably more important. So how many pages are they viewing per session? Now, pages per session is simply that. So they come in on page, could be the home page, it could be on a specific product page, whatever they've come in on, where are they traveling, how many pages are they consuming before they take off again. So that's worthwhile keeping an eye on. If, for example, you have a specific campaign in the market and it's driving them to a specific landing page where you would expect to have a conversion, whether that conversion is a purchase or whether it is an inquiry form, then maybe you do have a higher bounce rate and less stickiness, as I would call it. Maybe they're only seeing 1 or 2 pages. So this number might be lower than average. So it just depends what your website's being used for and exactly what you're trying to achieve. And that's why it's good to get an understanding of these figures. If not weekly, definitely you want to be looking at these on a monthly basis so you can start to understand what changes are happening and what might be driving those changes. Average session time, that just means how long are they on your site for each of those sessions. Again, if you had a really low time period, then you'd want to have a look at probably your highest bounce rate pages and just work out what's on those pages that might be driving that. And that also then taps into this next statistic here, which is your bounce rate for your website. Now, this is what I'd say is your rolled up bounce rate for your entire site. So your site's average bounce rate, and typically 40% is the benchmark, if you like, but I would do some investigation for your specific industry to see whether there is a lower or higher bounce rate. But if you are struggling to find out what that is, then I would work with at least the 40%, but we always want to try and make that a smaller number if we can. Just means the more traffic we're getting to our site, and less, if the bounce rate is lower, it means that they are downloading the full page and consuming the content. So how these work together is if the information on the page that they're coming to is of relevance to them, so based on what they're wanting to find out, then that bounce rate will remain lower and they will stay on the site longer because they're reading or consuming that content because it's answering or addressing a query that they want to know. So that's how we use those. I won't worry too much about what's under here. We'll dive into these a little bit separately, but you've got country that you can jump into. You've got languages, systems, so a bit more about the technology as well. So let's just now jump into demographics, which is obviously quite important. And I like to look at these and then also compare them to the social media channels that you might run for your business and just see, are they similar or are they different? And just understand whether you are potentially talking to different audience based on the channel and how you might say if you were on Snapchat, I would expect that you're wanting to talk to people sort of under that 28 age, probably more of a late teen, early 20s, maybe even lower teen. And then maybe if you're on Facebook, it might be older, but obviously it all has to tie back to what your product is, what you're selling, what your services are, and marrying in that content and product to service them. But it is good to have a look across those different channels to see if they're consistent, or if you've maybe seen it, there might be a whole new opportunity that's come to light by the social media channels compared to what you're seeing on your website. So definitely always worthwhile comparing. So here we're seeing in this particular example that we've got 48% of the site users are 25 to 34. And you might want to group these two together, and that would end up being 18. Yeah, so that's almost 70% of the site's audience comes from that. Or we can go up to this, which if you put a circle around those, and essentially that's 75% of the audience is coming from people aged 20 to 44, which is what we would say is a mass audience. And then it starts to taper off into that older age brackets. And over here, we've just got a nice, easy visual of the gender split. So 67% male and 32% female in this particular case. So quite good to have a look at that. And then we can break this down a little bit more. Just click on age and look at that. Yeah, so this is, I love all this stuff. So here we go, we've got our ages, and then what we could add a second dimension here. And, I've got age, sorry, gender. Let's have a look at gender and add that to it as well. And it's then going to split those age groups by male and female, and that just gives you a little bit more insight. So for example, we know site-wise this was 67% male, and then if we went through all the different age groups in this particular category, 25 to 34, the males only represent 31%. And so you can just basically go through and have a look at those different statistics. So there is these opportunities for you to click on the secondary dimension, as Google calls it, or I guess it's a cross tabulation, and you've got a choice of things there that you can add to that particular insights, if you like. And then if we look at gender, that just gives you your percentages. You've got the raw numbers, and then broken down into the acquisition, behaviour conversions, and you've got users, new users, sessions. So it just breaks that all down for you, and it might be particularly be interesting to see that in this case the bounce rates are pretty similar for male versus female. But let's say, for example, we had a really high female bounce rate, then we'd know that the content isn't necessarily speaking to a female. In addition, you could be looking at those age groups, and if the bounce rate was really high for 18 to 24, then you could, an insight might be that, okay, our content isn't resonating with that younger demographic. So it can be some really good, powerful information from within these pages. Interest is a great one as well. So you will need to go into your, let me just jump in there. I think I can quickly show you. You do need to toggle this on, so turn it on. I'm just going to remember where it is. I think it's property settings, and you can scroll down to enable demographics and interest reports, and you toggle that on. Now, because this is a demo site offered by Google, this is a little bit shaded, but in your own Google Analytics, that'll be your nice bright blue. So I'll just jump back, 2 clicks back, and jumping down here, interests again. So this might give you some insights again, and whether it's actually new information or it's just confirming what your beliefs already are. So it'll tell you their other interests. And it's also could be used for advertising or targeting when you're doing advertising as well. So say, for example, if you sold travel and maybe you're doing fitness camps overseas or fitness getaways, then maybe you'd want to go and target people that follow Lorna Jane or Nike or something like that. So it gives you a bit of an example of how you might be able to use that information. Okay, we're jumping down to geo. Language, probably not such a big deal if you're selling to the English markets, but what it might do is actually show you an opportunity. So you might think that you've got a lot of English-speaking people, but perhaps Spanish is starting to come in strong. So you could see what you might do a little bit more investigation, also have a look at the location and see whether there might be an opportunity in the Spanish-speaking countries for you to grow your market. So we'll jump into that one as well. And this is also really nice because it's such a quick, easy visual reference to see where you're having your most impact. And then down here, it actually has those countries listed out for you. And what I do like, you always get the raw number and the percentage there as well. And as you'll see, you've probably already noticed this is consistent in its how Google presents it. So you've got your acquisition, behavior, conversion. Now, behavior. We've really touched on new versus returning, but just so you know what it looks like, you've got the further information again broken down by those 3 categories or 3 parts of the funnel, if you like. And then I just want to jump into technology as well. This one will show you which browsers people are using. So things like, is it Google Chrome, is it Safari, etc. So here we go. There's all different ones that are available out there. So the majority is Chrome, followed by Safari, then Firefox. Network, I'm yet to come across where that might matter, but it might, I guess an example might be if you did a launch or you've got a sale on and it just hasn't performed as you've thought, perhaps one of the networks has had an outage. If you knew that a high percentage of, or what percentage of your audience might be accessing through a particular network, and that network was down for a day, then that could have impacted on your sales or revenue or just general site traffic for that day. So I guess that's an example of how that could be relevant. We have a look at mobile. This is just essentially going to tell you what devices they're on and also what percentage of people are using what device. So you've got desktop, mobile, and tablet. And in this particular case, the highest percentage is desktop, followed by mobile and tablet. I know for my website, mobile ranks higher than desktop. So just be, keep an eye on that. And look, if you haven't already got a mobile friendly site, that needs to be your number one priority. You absolutely need to invest in getting that done. And I'm now going to jump down into acquisition. This gets pretty exciting. This is going to show you where people are coming from for your website. So we've got, again, a lovely little visual reference up there, but then you can look into it into more detail down below. So organic does tend to be the number one source of traffic for most websites that I've ever worked on. And then depending how much you might be spending in paid advertising, then that will tend to be up in the sort of top 3. And direct is generally do fairly well as well. Social, it will vary on the business, but it is a really great way just from a high level point of view to see what's driving the traffic to your website. And then if we go down to, I like to look at, we'll go to channels and then I'm going to jump into source medium just so you can see the level of detail that's available for you. So that's pretty much what we were looking at the overview, but gives you a little bit more information based on acquisition, behavior, conversions. Again, you can also do some cross tabulation if you like there, just to compare, layer on another level of data if you'd like to do that. And then I want to jump into here because this takes you to the next level down under channels, if you like. So if it was paid search, what within paid search has worked for us? So Google CPC, and if say you were running an ad, or here's another paid ad, CPM, so you can get an understanding of what those different paid channels are delivering for you. This gives you an exact referral link. So whilst in that level, when you're looking at channels, you saw your referrals rolled up into the one total. But when you get down to source medium, you can see which referral links are driving the traffic for you. So it gives you a lot more detail. And on any of these search results, you can increase how many results you'd like to see per page, or you can just keep using the little scroll button here and it'll load the next 10 pages of data. And then Google Ads, you can have a look if you've got any campaigns running. You can have a look in here and see how they're performing. But as I said earlier, to actually create your ad account and to manage your ads, create your ad campaigns, you'll step over into ad or Google Ads to do that. And what else I want to show you in here? There's a lot of different things that you could focus on, but that's probably stepping a little bit more into the advanced. So I think as long as you know it's there, you can certainly have a look at your Google ad campaigns within here, but to sort of do any changes and update, create ads, you'd step over to Google Ads. And social is always an interesting one. If you are investing a bit of time in growing your social, then you want to keep an eye on these and just see what results that you're getting. So here it gives us a bit of a breakdown. In this particular example, YouTube's driving 1,268. So out of total social traffic, YouTube's almost driving 60% of it. And then if we move down to behavior, this is another really good one as well. This is where you can start to look at let's start here at all pages. And this will give you your most visited pages for the time period that you're looking at. So at the moment, the home page is coming up as the most visited page, followed by a basket, etc. And then you can just scroll down to have a look. Once again, if you wanted to see, say, your top 50 pages, then you can just adjust that and it will then display the top 50. Okay. And you can see, there's a lot of, because this is based on an e-commerce site, there's a lot of product in there as well. Now, landing pages, this starts to get a bit more specific. You can start to look at things like your bounce rates by landing page to see how you might want, or which ones you might want to spend some more time updating. So, for example, that particular page is sitting at 55%. So to me, that's a bit of a red flag. And because it's driving our second highest amount of traffic over this period, then I would definitely want to go and investigate that page and see why would it be driving such a high bounce rate? Whereas something like this 25, that's a really great percentage. And at the moment, it's only driving 2%. And that's because it's a sign-in page. So go, oh, yep, okay, that makes sense. So that's really powerful information. And because what it will do is give you your priorities, like where do I put my focus? And exit pages are essentially the main pages, the highest ranking pages where people are leaving your site. So you can, again, go through these and apply some common sense. If there's some there that doesn't make sense that they should be in a high exit page, then you should go and investigate and see why that might be. Is it that the traffic that's been driven there is being driven to the wrong page, or is it that the page on that content is not great? And then you can work out what steps you need to do from there to make that better. Now, there is a site speed option in here too. If you've got problems with your site speed, you can have a look and you'll get some insights from here. But Google also has, if you just look up Google, I think it's just Google site speed, you will see, or you can go to their website, drop in your URL, and it will do a test. The other one is GT Metrics also does a site speed test for you. Now, that's given you a pretty comprehensive overview of the key sections of the these first two parts of the funnel. So we started more broadly at the audience. We've done acquisition, so that's the awareness factor. Then we've done behavior, so what are they doing once they get to the site? And then this last one is conversions. Now, this is, again, probably a little bit more advanced. It's where you would go and set up your goals, which I've already touched on. So those goals could be an actual purchase or a lead inquiry form. So you can definitely go down that path, but we won't cover that in this particular lesson. We're just wanting to get you to feel comfortable with, I guess, the amount of information and what information is available to you within your Google Analytics. So if nothing else, my recommendation is that you check in at least every month, and you can set up reports to be automatically generated to you, so you don't even have to do anything. It'll email you and say, hey, here's your Google Analytics report for the month of May, and you can have a quick look. Otherwise, put it into your calendar to check every month. If you are seeing a decrease in inquiries and revenue, then I would definitely be looking at your website statistics every day, if not weekly. If you run an e-commerce business, I would be looking at it daily, absolutely, for sure. I definitely do with my clients with e-commerce sites, and I also have a look at, day of week, and also you have to lay over that what activity you might have done in prior periods that have impacted. So you've got to have have your finger on the pulse, because one thing I learned a few years ago now from our CFO was you don't wait to the third week of the month to try and crawl back. So if you've got your revenue targets, you need to be watching those every day, or if not every week. And if week one you're already 10% behind or 20% behind, then what are you going to do in the next 3 weeks to crawl that back? So by the time you get to the end of the month, you've got more chance of hitting that revenue target. So this is a very good tool to help you keep on track and to flag for you before it's too late that things aren't on track. So overview of what I would be looking at. Definitely use this homepage, because to me, Google has pulled it all together for you. If nothing else, go and have a quick look at these, and it's going to give you some really good insights. And that if you did nothing else but that, I think that would put you in a great position compared to if you're not looking at it at all. And then once you get more comfortable with it, then you can start to really dive into these other sections here. So I hope that's been a good overview for you. And of course, more than would love to hear your feedback on that. And if you've got any questions, shoot them through. You can drop me an email at hello@whatmattersmarketing.com, or leave a message, whatever's easiest for you. And I encourage you to start immediately. If you haven't already got a Google Analytics account, go set it up. And if you do, then start using it. Get in the habit of checking it at least monthly, if not weekly or daily, depending on your business model.